Okay, so get this. What if you could take a tiny physical piece of gold and with some very specific legal paperwork, turn it into a digital asset worth six figures? Sounds pretty wild, right? Well, today we're diving into a framework that claims it can do exactly that. It's all about building a bridge between gold, this ancient store of value, and a brand new kind of modern credit instrument. So let's unpack how this whole thing is supposed to work.
And the whole idea really kicks off with this pretty bold statement. The argument is that there's a massive weakness in our current financial system, and it's been staring us in the face the whole time. And what is that weakness? It's the total disconnect from real, physical, tangible assets.
And that premise, well, it taps right into that classic, legendary question. Is the gold in Fort Knox really there? I mean, for decades, people have been speculating about how much gold the U.S. actually has and what kind of shape it's in. It's exactly this kind of uncertainty that has people searching for something different, something more transparent that they can actually trust.
Which brings us right into our first section, this modern crisis of confidence. And it's not just some conspiracy theory, it's about real-world concerns that are pushing people to look for what they call sound money.
So this really boils down to a few key anxieties that a lot of people are feeling. You've got that sticky inflation that just eats away at your money's buying power. We all feel that. Then there's the fact that there are no real independent audits of these national gold reserves. And on top of that, there are serious questions about the quality of the gold that's supposedly in those vaults. There was this whole story about Germany getting some of its gold back from New York, and some of it apparently had to be completely melted down and recast because it wasn't up to snuff. When you put all that together, you can see why people are desperate to find an asset that can't just be printed into oblivion or, misrepresented.
All right, so what's the proposed fix? Well, this framework argues we need to go back to an asset that's been trusted for thousands of years, gold, but give it a modern, usable twist. Let's see how they say it can be done.
And the key to this whole thing is an asset called the gold back. Now, this isn't just a piece of paper promising you gold, and it's not a digital token. It's a physical note, and it has actual, spendable gold infused right into it. But here's the most important part, its legal status. Because of something called the Utah Legal Tender Act, the gold back is officially recognized as lawful money in the state of Utah, and that gives it a legal footing in the world of commerce that your average gold coin or bar just doesn't have.
Okay, this is where things get really wild. We're about to see how this framework proposes to take a physical note with a pretty small face value and transform it into something massive through a very specific legal maneuver.
It all starts right here. Not with some giant vault full of gold bars, but with one single physical $10 gold-backed note. It's got a unique serial number, you can hold it in your hand. Just keep this little note in mind.
But then, through a sworn, notarized legal document, the owner of this note declares a whole new reality for it. It stops being just a piece of currency, and it becomes the foundation for a brand new credit instrument.
And the value they declare for that new credit instrument? $100,000. Yeah, I know. You're probably thinking, wait, what? How is that even remotely possible? And that's a fair question. The thing is, the framework provides a very, very specific justification for that number.
Okay, so this is how it's supposed to work, broken down into 4 steps. First, the owner of the gold back drafts a sworn affidavit. Now, this isn't just some casual note. It's a legally binding record of their commercial intent. In that document, they officially declare that their specific serial-numbered gold back is being converted into a credit instrument. But here's the real kicker. Step 3, the justification for that huge number. The argument goes like this. If you were to revalue the US dollar based on the total national debt compared to the tiny amount of gold we supposedly have, a ratio the US debt clock says is over 10,000 to 1, and you use standard accounting rules to revalue assets, well, this is the number you get. And finally, you get it notarized. That act is what supposedly creates the legal anchor for this new $100,000 valuation.
So, making a declaration is one thing, but making it actually work in today's financial system, that takes a serious legal and tech backbone, and this is where commercial law meets blockchain technology.
Now, the absolute key to making this digital value real in the eyes of the law is this term, a controllable electronic record, or CER. This is a big deal. It comes directly from Article 12 of the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC, which is basically the rule book for commerce in the US. And this is a game changer because it gives a digital token, this tokenized value, actual legal recognition as a form of property. It means you can legally own it, control it, and transfer it, just like you would a car or a house.
You see, it's not just one law. It's how they all fit together like puzzle pieces.
The Utah Act gives the physical gold back its power as legal money. Then you have Florida's law, which makes it easier to actually use gold and digital assets in everyday business. And then, layered on top of all that, you have the big one, the UCC. Article 12 defines the token as property, and Article 9 provides the rules for using that property as collateral. It's a really thought-out, interconnected legal strategy.
Okay, so we've got this legally defined, high-value digital asset. But what can you do with it? I mean, what good is it really? This is where we get into the practical side of things.
And this is where it gets interesting, because the framework doesn't just stop at creating value, it's about putting it to work. Think about it. Normally, when you own gold, you have to pay someone to store it in a vault. It just sits there, costing you money. It's a purely defensive move. This model completely flips that script. Instead of paying fees, you can put your physical gold backs into a leasing program. And that means your gold is suddenly productive. It's out there earning you a return between 2 and 3.5% a year. And get this, it's paid back to you in more gold. Your asset literally goes from being a dead weight to an income-generating machine.
So let's just tie this all together, right? You've basically got two layers of value working for you. First, the physical gold backs themselves can be leased out, earning you a nice little yield and more gold. That's great. But the real power comes from that $100,000 tokenized credit instrument, that CER we talked about. What can you do with it? Well, it can be used for what are called standard debt obligations. Think about using it to pay off a contract, or maybe even cover your living expenses. And because it's legally recognized property, thanks to UCC Articles 9 and 12, it can function as powerful collateral. You could potentially use it to secure a loan or just as commercial assurance to show you're good for the money in a big business deal.
So, this whole system is a really bold attempt to completely rethink how we use assets in finance. It's blending old-school value with some very new-school legal and tech ideas. And, of course, that leads to a pretty big question about what comes next.
So, at the end of the day, what are we really looking at here? Is this the actual blueprint for a brand new, asset-backed economy, all built on the solid ground of commercial law? Or is it a really complex, maybe even fragile, legal experiment that's pushing the absolute limits of what we even consider value? The whole thing hinges on this one powerful idea, that a sworn, notarized piece of paper can create a new reality in the world of commerce. So the big question isn't just, is it legal? It's, will the market actually accept it? And that's something that only the courts, the banks, and, frankly, people like you who are looking for alternatives will ultimately decide.